Hi, Jane. Hold on, let me unmute you. Unmute.
Oh, there we go.
You there?
That was perfect timing.
Yeah, how have you been?
Great. How was your Christmas, your holidays?
It was actually really nice. It was quiet. I didn't get a chance to go back and see family on the East Coast, but I had a nice Christmas, saw some friends, and it was just low key. And how was yours?
Same thing. We stayed home. It snowed, and it was just a nice Christmas at home. I have a 13-year-old, so she's a little
You
spoiled.
do?
Yeah. I have a 13-year-old girl, so it was fun watching her open all her teeny bopper stuff. We're in
nice. Hang on one second. I just want to move something. How is but didn't you tell me you were doing some sort of Builderall certification or what's going on there?
I've been working with that Builderall certification. Eric Salgado's given a course. It's an every day. We meet for about 4 hours a day. So it's been, yeah, I swear it's intense. He's given us off until January 2nd, but we'll be back on the 2nd for another. It's intense.
4 hours.
Yeah, he's teaching us everything he knows, everything about Builderall, everything about SEO, which,
wow.
Yeah, it's really, so I'm pretty deep into it, and it's opening up my mind for a lot of different avenues that I could take, but tie into the things that I've already been working on, the things I had mentioned to you before. And yeah, I can see how it all is kind of coming together now. I drew a little blueprint, with the boxes connected, and it seemed to work. It seemed, I think I have a path. I want to do, I know in Builderall, they have these pre-made funnels for specific niches. So like it's just one of their affiliate things. You do Builderall. You're Builderall, right? I never know who does what sometimes.
I don't ever use it because I just.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I'm yeah.
You're
well aware
of
really, I'm just not savvy with it, I guess is the best way to say it.
There you go. Yeah, I just love it. So they have these funnels. So I'm working an affiliate with the local hair salons. So that's the one I've chosen to do. So I'm thinking about doing a 30-day challenge the first of the year. Visit one hair salon a day and give them the funnel. So I actually give that to them. So I'm not selling them anything when I go in there. I just give them the funnel. I'll tweak it and put their logo on it. It's already pre-made, so I can use it. And let them, and just drive traffic for them for a month. And then I tell them at the end of the month, I'll come. Would you be willing? I'll do that for you if you'd be willing to pay $29.90 a month to keep that funnel. It'll continue to drive traffic. At least they would have that funnel. So, and then hopefully,
how are you
do a little bit of their Facebook ad stuff.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha.
But in the meantime, it would be affiliates signing up under me. I would get all those hair salons, and I used this tool that Builderall has to like scrape Facebook and find all this stuff. So I noticed that all the hair salons, I picked every town in my county here. About 90% of them don't even have email. Websites. The majority of them don't have a website. They're going off Facebook page alone. So I think it would be a pretty easy sell. Just give it to them, and then they'll see the value. And then $29 a month is nothing to have something that even all I'll have to bring them is one hair color, or one haircut, and it would be worth it for them. So then I thought about doing that 30-day challenge and getting up my guts and doing my videos and stuff like that, which I hate to do, but I thought I could do that with a camera.
You've been busy.
Yeah, I've just been busy, and then plus, I have a full-time job during the day, so it's just crazy.
Oh, you do? I didn't even realize that. Wow.
Oh yeah, I work about 40, 50 hours a week during, at a regular job. So I'm just
How do you find 4 hours a day to work on the Builderall stuff?
well,
Hi,
it's
Scott, by the way.
yeah, because it's our own business. It's a doctor's office, so I can snake in the back room and I plug in there. I have another girl that works there, so when I need to do the class, I'm always in the file room. I got files behind me in this little crumped up file room, but it works, you know. Yeah, so I've been getting them in, and they post them if you miss them. I've missed about maybe one or two of them, but I wanted to keep right up on it because I could fall behind so fast. So I've really been trying to, in my spare time, I'm just learning all the time. That's all I'm doing is learning and learning and learning, and it's time to apply it and make it happen. That's my coming into 20 goal. So
right on. Well, any help you need, always feel to reach out if there's anything you need my assistance with.
Yeah.
Let me say hi to Scott. Hang on one sec, Jane.
I'm just talking away. Sorry.
No, that's okay. You there, Scott?
Yep, I'm here. How you doing?
Hi, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all of that.
Happy New Year. How have you been? How were your holidays?
Nothing special. Korea's not really big into that holiday. It's kind of just normal, but small celebrations. That's about it. But been staying busy.
Good. Well, I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to do two things on the call tonight, and I might be a little bit all over the place because the way that I'm thinking about this, did both of you happen to watch the lobster video?
The what video?
The lobster video that I did last week.
I don't
lobster?
think I saw it.
Did I hear that correct? Lobster video?
Oh, this is going to be entertaining. So I posted a video in the group towards the end of last week, and I said this might be the most important video that if you've ever watched anything of mine, watch this. This might be the most important video I've ever done. And I think it's just because it's around the holidays. I might try and repost it after the first. But,
Yeah, I was busy. Some of those posts I missed,
Oh, that's okay, Jane. I'm going to leave the line open so that since there's not any background noise, and if you guys have questions or want to speak up, just don't feel like you have to raise your hand. I'm just going to leave the line open. Well, let me tell you what the lobster video was about, and then you can go back and check it out later. So the client that I'm working with on this national account, excuse me, they have a new brand, right? And so they don't have any historical sales data. They have the ability to create any piece of jewelry. Like if I gave them data on what was selling on Facebook and saying, okay, well, rose gold and moonstones and labradorite and sapphire seem to be selling, the most. And the reason I would know that is because my Facebook guys can look at the Facebook pixel. I could basically create a jewelry line around what I know is selling really well on Facebook. And have to be very careful about how I do that with the client. But in that process, I was thinking about I was thinking about the customer journey. And this is something, for students and especially when you're just getting into agency, thinking about this at this level with, there's some people who are just not going to think this stuff and they're never going to get it. Oh, guys, hang on for me one sec. Okay, sorry. Bianca was trying to get in and she couldn't. So basically, let me cut to the chase. So I did a demo with a company, and I've been on their email list for years, and they do something very interesting in analytics, and it's a platform so let's say you run an ad on Facebook, and the client that you're running the ad for listens to you, and they go, okay, so the ad that we ran directly correlated to the sale that we made. And that's how you would think you should be talking to a client, because that's what Facebook leads you to believe. But Facebook can only track the last click. The problem with that model and how this relates to agency is that it is so much deeper than that. So in this lobster video, I had the demo with this company. I finally decided to sit down and say, look, I want you to run through this for my client. Even though they don't have a lot of historical sales data on the new brand, I think this is something we should do for them in 2018. And it's not a very expensive software, but it takes some time to get your mind around. So, and I'm going to be bringing the guy from the company onto a special call in January to go over this, because I'd like ideally all the students to be using this for their clients. So to give you an example, the company that sits behind who is their kind of first beta tester is a company called Get Maine Lobster. And I want you guys to watch a video because there's a lot more that I'm going to forget to cover. But basically, Get Maine Lobster decided to partner with this software company to really understand where they were spending their money and how well they were doing on Facebook. And Mark, the guy behind the lobster company, had put $4,000 in, hadn't seen any sales, was convinced it didn't work, and he kicked it and said, no, forget it. I'm not putting any more money into it. Now, when this company came along and said, hang on, we're going to show you something. So what they are able to do is basically follow the customer journey cross-channel. And in the video, I talk about this. And the takeaway from the video is that of all the money that they've spent on Facebook, they can directly attribute, okay, customer clicked on an ad, customer went to a sales page, customer bought a bunch of lobster tails, customer paid us with their MasterCard, right? That's a direct sale. There's so few people who actually go through and do that on the very first go, especially when you're running cold traffic on Facebook. So that's why Mark was saying, hey, this doesn't work and I can't justify this. However, when you watch this video, what's fascinating is by using this analytics software, you can actually go in and attribute the last click directly to the channel that produced it. So let's say that you're working with a client, and the client is a month in and is saying, well, Jane, Scott, I'm not seeing the results here, and you haven't generated any sales, and what's going on here? And you have this software running in the background, and you go back to the client and you say, okay, we generated 1,000 unique visitors, from the ads on Facebook. Did you capture them in email? Was there an email opt-in? How many times have you communicated with them? What type of offers have you sent them? So this is where an agency, you have to think in a much more 30,000 foot view, because you're saying, hey, I'll run your Facebook ads in a sense, which is where there's the business opportunity, but it's being more of this concept of a digital brand strategist. So this brand has to understand that they've got to have an email backend in place, because if the ad generates the interest and the customer's like, oh yeah, cool, I'll opt in for 10% off my first order with Get Maine Lobster, and then Get Maine Lobster does a phenomenal job of marketing to me as a customer through email. I hope both of you are sitting down. Guess how much money Get Maine Lobster has made from email marketing that they directly track to this platform that I'm talking about in the last year?
How much?
$8 million.
Yeah, ow. He started with 4,000?
I'm serious. Not from, he's put more money and he's probably at 125K on ad spend, but he made $8 million. Wow. And it's not from the Facebook ad. What's happening is that because he's so good at marketing through email, he's finding that these customers, they'll come in off the Facebook ad. So then he's trying to justify, saying, well, what was my cost per lead? So let's say that the ad was, I don't know, $1.50 a click, and that customer converted over, they at least opted in. So that's their very first point of contact in the customer journey. And let's call her Susan. So Susan opts in. She's now on Mark's email list. She didn't buy the lobster tails from the ad, but she gets an email every single day with Mark giving her a recipe, or how's the weather in Maine, or these are our best selling products, or whatever. And I'm on their email list, so I watch what he does really carefully.
Nice.
And so he was able to take Susan, who cost him $1.50, and actually track what her lifetime value is. So when they started this campaign in 2015 with the software company and they started testing these Facebook ads, Susan is still a paying customer. She just put an order through 2 weeks ago, and I was in their back end of their software looking at it with the guy, for close to $400. So far over these last 2 years, her lifetime value is upwards of $1,500 to them. So it's $1.50, made $1,500. So back to where I'm going, and I definitely do want you guys to watch that video, is, you know, whatever, ideally a business that has historical data. So let's say they're running on Infusionsoft or Shopify. You know, this software company has certain integrations. So finding clients that already have the platforms that they have integrations for, and then going after those type of clients, because you're going to be able to show them things and be able to justify a much higher price point as an agency when you can drill down and say, no, John, I'm sorry, it wasn't Facebook that can be directly attributed to that sale. Facebook would like you to think that because they can't integrate into your sales data. But basically what I can show you is that Susan clicked on email number 4, which was sent on January 5th, and that was directly the reason why the sales transaction happened. Like, that sort of granular data is insane. And then they do this just mind-blowing stuff with tracking ROI and showing which campaigns are working and all this stuff that's so far beyond my ability to explain to you guys right now. But that's what I've been working on and trying to figure out how to bring this in to get students to the point where this is something they can actually use. And so it's, I mean, I think both of you would understand it, you know. Hi, Bianca. Let me unmute you. Hold on one sec. Hi, Bianca.
If they're going to come at all. You feel me?
Are you there?
Do you secretly know?
Whoops.
Okay. I think Bianca might have had something going on in the background. Bianca, I unmuted you because I've got Jane. Oh, did you just send me a question? Hang on one sec. Hold on, guys. Bianca, do you want to be unmuted, or do you have some background noise? Because Jane and Scott are chatting with me and I don't have them muted. So if you'd like me to open up the line, we can do that. And if not, then don't worry. It's up to you. My computer was opening up. No worries, I turned it off. Okay, let's try this again. Bianca?
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome.
How is everyone?
Everyone's great. I've got Jane on and Scott, and I just figured since there wasn't too much background noise, I'd just keep the line open, and then we can kind of talk. And
no, it was. It just opened in Facebook. Some. You know, when you scroll down and it just opens. But yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah. No worries. So did you hear all that about the lobster stuff? I don't know if you caught that last week. Yeah. Okay. So my focus, you know, in thinking about that, both for my client right now, who doesn't have a very strong email marketing back end, is when you're a new brand and a new company and you're vying for the audience that everyone else is vying for on Facebook, nurturing and actually developing a relationship with people through email marketing, or, you know, if somebody wanted to use, you know, bots and sequencing, that could also be really powerful because that has a really high response and open rate. But the video, like, my takeaway from it was, okay, here's an incredibly powerful tool in the hands of somebody that obviously knows how to use it, because it's not like you just set it up and you're off and running. There's a little learning curve to it. And I'm talking to their head of sales about actually becoming certified on the platform, and we have a meeting tomorrow to go over that. I have no idea if my brain has the capacity to become certified on this platform. I'd like to think that I could use it. Certified might be a different level. But who knows? Maybe I would be. So I'm going to talk to him and try and understand, because if I'm certified, I think that puts me in a very different place to be able to help students, and then to, you know, work with people that need it in their own business. And so anyhow, that's the lobster video, and that I want to jump over. So what I'm going to do Little bit different today is, hang tight for 1 sec. Let me organize something here. So one of the students who came in, I don't know, maybe like beginning of November. Let me scroll back to our conversation here. When was this? December 2nd. Yeah, maybe end of November. He contacted me and he said, you know, Alexa, can you take a look at some stuff and maybe we could do a call and go over some ideas on how to ask the right questions and what do I do with this meeting? And I said, okay, sure, happy to. And Seth's not actually on the weekly calls, and I didn't mention this to him, but I don't think he would have any problem with this. So we jumped on one call, and then I said, what I want you to do is he told me what he thought needed to be done in the meeting. I took a look at their website, and which I'm not in love with, to be honest, but I went back to him. I said, okay, here are the things that I want you to ask them. Write up an email as if you were going to hit the send button and send it to me before you do that, so I can see how you would verbalize this to them, like how you would actually write it out. And he does really well, like he communicates well. But on the call today, what I want to do is go over what happened with him throughout these meetings that he and I had, and then what we did today, because I think it'll be a real informative and helpful call. You guys will learn a lot about where he started and kind of where he wound up. And I think there's a little bit of mindset and positioning in here. And I don't talk about that very much in the course, but I think it's hard because when you're first in the beginning stages of building a successful business, you know, your mindset is obviously very key in any business, not just agency. But I didn't want to focus too heavily on it because there's a lot else that goes into building an agency, and it's, you know, certain percentage mindset, but it's a lot more other parts of it. So with Seth, there's a little bit of the mindset issue, not that he's not confident, but I'll show you how at the end we got to where he is today, which is, I think he's going to blow this woman out of the water tomorrow. So with that said, let's start. Okay, let me know when you see my screen.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay, super. I like it better when I'm not the only one talking. I like it when you guys are not muted. Okay, so Turkle and Associates, Indianapolis Plastic Surgery. Let's just jump over to her website. Yikes. I have this stretched out a little bit because of the way Messenger is, but basically it's not, there's nothing warm and soft and beautiful about this website. It's pretty god awful. And these two pictures, I mean, they're just not good pictures. So we started off, I said, okay, Seth, I said, what's going on here? How did you get in touch with them? Give me the backstory. And I'm going to struggle right now with how he, maybe it was his sister or something, and that he went into the office with her. I feel like it was something like that, and happened to strike up a conversation. And so the long and short of it is, he didn't know much about the business. He doesn't know very much about, you know, this cosmetic surgery market in general. So he's learning. And so we got onto this call, and I said, okay, well, what do you think they want? And he said, well, I'm pretty sure that they have somebody doing their marketing in-house. And I said, okay, great. So what you need to get clear on is what the pecking order is here, and who's going to be in this meeting, and whose toes you're potentially stepping on, and what they've done, and what they haven't done. I'm going to show you something right now. Do you see how there are 3 pixels on this account? Okay, and there's 7 overall firing. This is a nightmare. Each one of these pixels has a different ID. And so those are 3 individual pixels that at some point were installed incorrectly and unnecessarily. So it's probably that somebody was doing some agency work for them and attached it through their account. They have no idea it's running. It's messing up their data. on and on and on. Seth and I just figured that out today, but let me back up. So I said, Seth, I said, well, if you don't know who the players are and you don't know much about the business in general, I said, where do you want to start? And so we went through, okay, and this is the email that he came up with after he and I had the initial call. And as he went through all of this, I'm trying to remember what my observations were. Okay, so he went through, and here's how he verbalized it, which I think was a good start, but it was a little, what's the word? Needed a little polish. So we got on the call, and I gave him some notes, and this is how it wound up. This is like the finished version of what I gave him the thumbs up on sending. And let's see. What I told him to do was ask questions which would help him, you know, get this conversation and this meeting to actually happen, because what you've got to do is think about their business. So he knows nothing about this company. They obviously are doing very well in the market. She's an established surgeon, has great reputation, but she needs to know that he's thinking about her business, not just, hey, I'm going to run your Facebook ads. So when we went back and went through these questions on that first call, I said, you know, if a company like this is interested in working with you, you've got to get a sense on what you're shooting for. So maybe she's going to say to you, you know what, Seth, we're doing really well, and we've got about 50 new patients a month. Some of that's non-invasive, some of it's surgery, you know, based. And we'd really like to double that number. Well, okay, great. Well, where are the 50 patients coming from? Well, some of it's referral, and some of it's from some print advertising we do. Whatever it is that she says, I said to Seth, I said, you're not going to know how reasonable of a client she is until you actually have some parameters as to what she wants to achieve. And maybe she has no idea what she wants to achieve, but the Facebook, you know, carrot is dangling in front of her face, and she's going, oh, I just want to know how to advertise on Facebook because everyone's telling me it's what I should be doing, right? So I said, ask her some tough business questions. What are your revenue goals for 2018? What does this look like in terms of new patient volume? What percentage of your current patients are surgical versus non-surgical, and so on and so forth. You guys can read what he actually put down in there. And then I told him he should compliment her a little bit, because on their Facebook page, although there's some things I don't agree with, they are doing a fair job. You know, 1,600 likes is not bad, and they seem to be posting consistently, although they're pushing really heavy on the sales message. And so he made a couple comments there, and then asked for a definitive, can you get back to me by Wednesday, and some other information. And so, okay, I'm trying to see why. I think he accidentally posted that twice. Why did he post it 3 times? Okay, I didn't realize it was there 3 times. Okay, so Andy gets back to him, which is somebody who's obviously inside working on the marketing, and made some strange comments, which I think was in an email form. And when I read that, maybe Seth forwarded me the email, I don't remember, but he's at the point where he's trying to feel out and see who the decision makers are. You know, is it Turkle herself that's going to pull the trigger on this? Is it this Andy guy? Whose, you know, rear end does he have to kiss in the beginning to make sure he doesn't step on toes, and all that kind of stuff that's, you know, all nebulous in the beginning because you just don't know who you're dealing with. And so he puts his email back, and then Andy gives him a couple of these competitors, and we looked at the competitors, and none of them had the Facebook pixel, I believe, when I opened them all up. And we did that again today. So Seth comes back and says, hey, the meeting's tomorrow. And I said, great. And he did this morning. I said, how are you feeling? Are you comfortable with how you're going to open up the conversation and how you're going to lead it? And he's like, yeah, I feel really great. And so I said, well, why don't you call me? I have a couple ideas, might help you. And I think he would have done a fair job, honestly. of talking to her in a way that could have potentially closed the deal. But I don't know if we hadn't had the conversation today, I don't know if he would have been as strategic in carrying her through the conversation and actually getting her to ask for the proposal. There's a big difference in having a decent meeting and having great rapport and being like, teaching somebody and then going, oh, that was really interesting, and it's something we'll, stick a feather in our cap and think about it for 2018. No, like that's not the point of these meetings. You don't want to be sitting there entertaining somebody with your Facebook knowledge. You want decision makers. So Seth and I had a really interesting call, and I'm going to try and go through it from memory. So he sends me this stuff this morning, which is basic answers to that second email that we went over. And he said, no, we haven't set up our revenue goals, or whoever this, and Megan. Percentages are current patients, and we are tracking our conversion of surgery patients. So I said, okay, Seth. And here's where I taught him something he didn't know. Hang on one sec, guys. Yes. Okay, hold on. Uh-oh. I just lost. Wait, where did it go, Seth? Oh my God, is it right in front? There we go. Okay. Did I give him the link? Oh, yikes. Hang on one sec. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I give him this information on a website called Real Self, and Larry, who's going to be jumping on in a second, is actually going after the plastic surgery market. So I might, let's see if he's on yet. No, not yet. I'm going to leave this right here. Sorry for the annoyance, but so I can make sure he gets on okay. So she's got a profile on Real Self, and Real Self, for those of you that don't know it, is a place where people can go and look at doctors and read reviews and see how the doctor engages or doesn't engage. And so Seth and I, and Seth had never heard of this before, we spent some time on the page, 45,000 profile views. We pushed all the way back to the beginning of her reviews, which go back 8 years. She's got 26 years of experience, 570 expert answers. And so she's highly engaged on this platform, probably because it's driving a good percentage of new patients to her. So I said, well, here's what I think you should do. I said, I think you should start off the meeting by coming in really strong and talking about what you've learned about her business and her, just her practice and her reputation. And so start off with Real Self. She may not know that you know about it, and you need to show people that you're the expert and that you're on top of this stuff. I said, so go ahead and open up the conversation and say, I've done some research into your market. I'm trying to understand how you're positioned, what your background is, and so on and so forth. I said it a little bit more eloquently earlier this morning, but however he opens up. And then I said, the reason I want you to do this is as follows. Hold on, let me unmute Larry. Hi, Larry, are you there? Oh, that's weird.
Yes.
His little microphone.
I'm here.
You
now.
there?
I'm unmuted. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So this actually applies to you. I'm going after the doctors in the plastic surgery space. Are you familiar with this website, Real Self? Have I ever showed this to you?
Real Self doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, so pay close attention because you're going to want to know this. So
Okay,
one of the students in the course has a meeting. I'm going to keep the line open, so if you have any background noise, you can mute yourself, but you're open to talk when you feel like it. So this doctor, cosmetic surgeon, very respected in Indianapolis, and the student was having a meeting tomorrow. We got on the phone after I'd helped him with a bunch of stuff previously, a round of email communications, and I said, well, Seth, do you know about Real Self? And he was like, no, what's that? So we spent a good amount of time drilling into her profile. The reason that this is important is because if you get a meeting with one of these doctors and time is of the essence, and they're always going to cut you short on meetings generally because their schedules are so hectic. You can walk in there and say, okay, I'm aware of you've been on Real Self for 8 years. You've had 45,000 profile views, which averages over 5,000 views a year, which has probably grown exponentially in the last 2 to 3 years because the platform is just much, it's been improved. It's a much higher source of traffic. So can you tell me, Dr. Turkle, what percentage of patients are finding you through this consultation feature on Real Self? And I see that you're doing a special offer. Oh, where is it? Somewhere in here, there's a special offer. It's like $50 consultation fee, or I don't know, something she's doing only for these Real Self patients. Now, the reason that we did this is one, to start off positioning himself and showing people that he's done his due diligence on her, but two, look down here, advertise. Real Self is not doing this to be nice to cosmetic surgeons. They're doing it because there's a boatload of money to be made off of cosmetic surgeons. So they are allowing these doctors to advertise, be it to an email list. I don't know what their exact models are. They don't break them out here. Enhance your profile, whatever. So what I said to him is, your job, Seth, in the beginning of this conversation is to figure out where this doctor is spending her money and to get it out of her immediately. Because if you waste an hour in that meeting and then you get the, Seth, this was so informative, thank you so much, we're gonna go talk to 10 other agencies and we'll get back to you in March. You just wasted an hour of your time, and that may never turn into a client. Whereas if you start off the conversation by showing her what you're talking about, and then immediately asking the question, Dr. Turkle, I understand that Facebook is a new channel for you, and you have a Facebook page, but advertising would be a new initiative. Before I get into this presentation, may I ask, how high of a priority is this for you right now? Is this something you're looking making a decision on this month, or is this something for the first quarter? And she's probably going to say, well, to be honest with you, Seth, I haven't talked to anyone else. I don't know anything about Facebook advertising. So I'd like you to tell me what you think I need to know, and then I can tell you how time sensitive it is, right? She's going to say something like that, most likely. So we start off by trying to dig out what she's doing on Real Self, because she might just be running organically, but she also might be paying them. And if she's paying a couple $100 a month or anything like that, you've automatically gotten her to confirm that she's already forking out money on a marketing channel. So you need to get this information out, because it's overall going to help you figure out what their budget is. Even if they don't want to commit to a budget, you've got to know. And then we switched over and I said, okay, there's some really big magazines that feature these cosmetic surgeons. And right now, for the life of me, I can't remember the one that I really wanted to find for him, and we couldn't find it today. And when I find it, I'm going to get so frustrated because he can't reference it in the meeting. But these doctors will pay tons of money to be on these really, beautiful matte pages with incredible photography and all this information about their practice. And I don't know, coming from a print background years ago, knowing what these media rates were, I told him, I said, if a doctor's in on one of these magazines, you can bet that they're forking out somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 a year on these runs of print. And I said, sometimes these magazines come out once a quarter. They could be by every other month. I said, I don't remember this specific magazine. But if you just got her to tell you that she's paying Real Self every month for some sort of feature, however they're marketing her, and that's $2,000 plus a year, let's just throw out a number. And then you go over and you ask her directly, Dr. Turkle, are you currently in any media contracts? Do you have the practice featured in any print publications? Are you under contract anywhere? And she's going to go, oh, it's interesting you should mention that. Yeah, I've been doing this in this magazine for so many years, and it's, it's great for us. It doesn't generate us a ton, or maybe it does, but we can't really track it. Great. Well, how much are you spending? What kind of investment are you making in those publications? Because if that woman is forking $10,000 to $20,000 a year on a print magazine, well, she's easily going to do it on Facebook, because you can directly track the results. And in that type of print marketing, it's very, very hard to do that, to directly attribute. And they're probably not doing a tremendous job of taking the customer who comes from a magazine like that and asking the question every single time because it's a little, like they'll say they're doing it. So if you ask the question in a meeting, are you directly tracking your leads? They're going to say yes. But with that higher level clientele that reads a very sophisticated, very heavily bound publication, they don't want to be asked where they found the doctor. They don't. They're going to get on the phone, they're going to book an appointment, and that's the end of story. You deal with those people very differently than you do your basic person coming in for a $100 filler, because generally, like, they're just a more elite type of patient. So Seth's sitting here and he's going, oh, well, this is really great. Now I know how to open up the conversation. And I said, terrific. I said, what are you going to do with the rest of it? And I said, so she's going to put this right back in your lap, and she's going to say, well, you know, after you get her budget out of her, and then you have to lead this conversation. I said, so my strategy would be to go right over into the Pixel. Now, Larry, I don't think you were on for the Pixel part, were you? Larry.
I'm here. Sorry.
Where did you? That's okay.
I can't miss
were you?
Okay.
Did you see this Pixel issue?
I am on my phone, so I can't see too well of what's going on until I get to my computer at home.
Okay, don't worry about it. So I'm just going to recap quickly. The doctor here has something god-awful going on. There are 3 pixels on her site. They're not supposed to be there. There should be 1 pixel, and that's the end of story. So in the meeting, what I said to Seth is, what you need to do, Seth, is you need to give them a schooling on how Facebook works. And I said, they're already going to tell you they know about the Pixel. They obviously do, and they don't know about it because they're screwing it up, pardon my language. So you're going to go in and you're going to say, Dr. Turkle, I need to have a conversation with you just to make sure you have the information straight, you know, correct about how Facebook works. So I've gone ahead and I've done a preliminary audit of your Pixel setup, and I'm not sure who was responsible for it, but I can tell you right now the implementation is not correct. There are multiple pixels which should never be set up that way. What I can do for you is, if this is something you would like to fix and you're not sure how to do it, I would be happy to help you with that. I said, extend an olive branch to her, because they're not going to admit that they effed up the Pixel. They're just not. And they're going to probably have somebody in that meeting that's going to counter-argue about why those other pixels are there, and then you get into a pissing match. I said, so what you just want to do is say, here's how it's supposed to be. You're the expert. You walk into the meeting. This is not a debate about who's right or wrong about the Pixel. This is the way that it's done. 1 pixel attached to 1 project, end of story. The others need to be removed, and removed immediately, the ones that don't correspond to your Facebook advertising account. So you say that to her, and you can say, I don't know how this happened. I've never seen this before, but if you'd like my help in fixing it, I would be happy to do that. We can talk about that later. And then you don't open up the dialogue. You move straight into the next part of the conversation, which is, let's talk about Facebook and the opportunity here. And so at the beginning of the meeting, I asked you what your sensitivity is in terms of making a decision on marketing on the Facebook channel. And you said to me, Seth, I don't know, because I don't know enough about it. And so I can't go over everything we covered, because I don't know if I could possibly translate it all. We were on for like an hour and 20 minutes. But basically I said, you need to start off by clearly explaining to them that you are the expert in the room. This is not up for debate. This is not a test. This is not, you know, is this guy really who he says he is? You walk in there and you very clearly say, this is how this conversation is going to go. You're going to tell me how much money you're already spending. I'm going to tell you what I see you doing incorrectly. We're going to make a decision on whether we want to work together, and then you're going to do that in the timeline that I want you to do it. When you don't come across cocky and as an ass, and you lead that meeting that way in a very careful, professional way, this woman will be asking him for a proposal, hands down. And I said, so once you identify the Pixel issues and you go back and say, you know, the opportunity on Facebook is a great one. And why you have an even better opportunity is because none of your direct competitors, who you've clearly told me through email are your direct competitors, are running Facebook advertising at the moment. Oops, hang on 1 sec. So, yeah. So we went over to these guys. I won't even hurt your eyes because their websites are so god awful. It's not necessary. But so you say to her, you know, Dr. Turkle, the reason I asked how sensitive you are on a timeline basis is because you have a small window of opportunity here. More and more people every day are understanding the potential of Facebook and Facebook advertising. Your competitors haven't caught on to that, nor have they found anyone to bring them into Facebook and to do a good job of it. Otherwise, they would have the Pixel installed, and honestly, they would have better looking websites, but we won't tackle that beast. And so I said, what you need to tell her is that the longer she takes to make a decision on if this is something she wants to pursue, you know, this month or next month, the smaller that window gets. So most likely people are contacting these other competitors or these competitors and saying, here's what can be done on Facebook. You know, would you like to explore a working opportunity together? I said, what you need to do here is you need to talk to her about the Facebook Pixel database. You need to talk to her about how you have access, which she does through me, to you know, confidential, highly like sought after information regarding what advertisers are doing in her market. If Seth said to her, Dr. Turkle, what are the top 5 doctors in the country whose practices you really respect, whose websites have a nice professional presence? She's probably not going to rattle off 5. Maybe she'll give him 3. And then he goes and says, well, I'm going to go in and have a meeting with the partner agency that I'm mentoring with in California, and we're going to look and see what these companies are doing with their Facebook marketing. I can't promise you that they're all running Facebook advertising, but if they are, I'll be able to tell you what they're doing and what's working successfully. The reason that this is important is because when you hire me, you are looking to get the best return on ad spend possible. If I already know what's working in the market, I can take that back to you and that will inform campaign strategy. That means we don't guess. We don't say we should do a traffic campaign when it should be a conversion campaign. We don't go down this path when we should have gone down this path. That kind of conversation, when he can wrap up the conversation with her like that and say, that's the next step. But in order for me to use my resources and sit down with the partner agency, I need to tell you how the agency works. I will be happy to put this confidential, you know, intellectual property into a proposal for you, but I will send that out only as long as you're prepared to make a decision within 24 hours. And that's startling to people, and I put that in the course. But geez, if this woman has the money and she's throwing out, you know, 25+ K a year into these other media channels, then why the hell wouldn't she sign up with him on Facebook? And so if she's not prepared to do that, then he's got to pull the plug and never send a proposal. Is this all making sense?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. And it's coming across really harsh, but what I said to him is, you've got to be really strong. My mom always used to have this saying, and she was like this badass real estate agent in New York, and you know, she was running around showing houses from the time I could basically, you know, hold a spoon in my own hand. I mean, she was a great mom. She was always there when I needed her, but she was always showing houses on appointments. She'd like have dinner going, and then she'd be like, okay, I'll be back in half an hour, and then she'd go run and show a house and come back and sit down and serve dinner, and I'm like, okay, this woman's Wonder Woman. But I learned a lot from her, and she would always say to me, she's like, Alexa, firm but friendly. And I think about that because sometimes I can be a hard ass and like I come across really, really strong. And there are some people I just work with in business where I don't have the friendly side because I just can tell that that's not going to work with them, and I just have to be a hard ass, and it is the way it is. But in this case, he knows nothing about this woman. She could be the sweetest woman in the world, although by looking at her photos, like, she strikes me as a hard ass. She just does. And that's my gut reaction to her. And I could, you know, be totally wrong. Sorry, Janet. But it's funny because I look at this picture and then I go over to this picture and I'm like, I know they're the same person, but it's just, they're two very different. Like, here she's kind of soft and it looks more like a professional, you know, photograph of a headshot. And I would put that picture over here. This one, it looks like, I mean, I'm being very hypercritical here, but it looks like his head isn't even attached to the right body. I don't know, there's something funny going on here. So Seth and I were joking about that today. So I basically said, at this point, your job is to go in and get her to make a decision. And she's probably going to turn around and do the, you know what, Seth, all of this sounds amazing, but you know, you're the first agency that I'm talking to or we're talking to, and you have to figure out here how you're going to go in for the kill. And you have a couple different ways you could approach this, but I would probably say to her, you're right. You know, there are a lot of agencies who claim they can get you results on Facebook. The reason that you want to hire me is because I have access to internal resources at Facebook that no other agency that you approach or try and set a meeting with is going to be able to give you. And that's a simple fact. He's not lying. Like this Pixel database information, that is guarded more than like King Tut's tomb. Like it's not, I can't go and I can't look at it myself, but I can have my team. Like I looked at somebody a couple weeks ago who's running these big ad campaigns that I'm paying attention to because they're converting really well. And I went to him and I said, I need to know what this woman is spending. And he went and found out she's spending between $18,000 and $25,000 a month on her slow months in ad spend alone. But she's making $160K a month off of Facebook. So it's well worth her spending, you know, $20K plus a month. So in this situation where he comes in, I think what he probably would have done is gotten into a much more technical call about conversions and funnels and things like that, which are not above her head, because I'm sure she's a very intelligent woman to be a surgeon, you know, and studied, but beyond her wheelhouse. Like she doesn't want to talk about that stuff. Like she wants to know that you know what you're doing and that her time away from her patients, sitting in a meeting room in her office with you, is well spent. And so if you can structure the meeting by meeting her objectives, but also getting your objectives met, which is, does this woman spend money on marketing? Okay, where? How much? How quickly does she want to make a decision? And how do I get her to agree to a fast review process? And if somebody's willing to do that, then you shouldn't have any problem closing them on the proposal. It's just not wasting your time once you get into this meeting and making sure you're asking the right question. So I'm going to take a deep breath and stop talking, and you guys can ask me questions. How about that?
I've got a question. This is Jane. You said basically in a meeting you were kind of summing it up, but you were talking fast. I was taking notes, but you said basically to get them to show what their budget is, so you know how much they are. Tell them what they don't know, and then you said a couple other things after that. But hey, you talked fast. Like summing up that little.
I do talk. So let me hold on. Let me jump back over to Messenger. Okay, so she responded here. Oh, we didn't cover this thing, which is important. So if you go to Turkle's website, there is no email list opt-in, right? You have to go down and do a contact us. And most people are not going to do a contact us if they're not ready to book a procedure. They're just going to surf and they're going to bail off the website. So I went in and put in, not my name, but something, and made up a bogus mobile phone number. And I was redirected to a thank you page, which said this, this account is not constantly monitored. Okay, this is just awful copy. Like you're trying to get a customer into your practice and you don't want to tell them that you have emails, you have marketing stuff that isn't monitored. Like it just looks bad. All of this stuff down here is unnecessary. So I said, Seth, what you've got to do is in this meeting, you've got to bring this up and you've got to say, Dr. Turkle, you know, I've looked at the website. Of course, there's ways that it can be optimized, but my biggest concern is that you don't have an email marketing backend in place that's really going to help me currently with Facebook advertising. So we would need to put something and incorporate that so that we have a better relationship with these people who we're talking to on Facebook. And that's a series of messages, of sequencing, whatever he wants to say about it, but she doesn't. So if we send somebody, you know, obviously you could send somebody through a funnel, but if the ad is going directly to a landing page. People, do you know the stat that I got the other day from somebody in the industry? 70% of people on Facebook that are looking at ads are not clicking through on the ads, and they're Googling the business. They're leaving Facebook and going and doing a Google search right after looking at an ad.
70%.
Isn't that fascinating? 70%. And that's what I've been saying, not tooting my own horn here, but when people go, oh, my Facebook page doesn't really matter, or, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then I say, you're really assuming that the consumer is an idiot, aren't you? I said, with how easy it is to vet people in today's day and age, the second they see an ad, they're going to go and look at the Facebook page. But now they're not even doing that. They're going straight to Google, and they're relying on Google to tell them whether or not this is somebody they should be doing business with. And so what that means is, you know, she's got to have a good, I haven't actually, I think I Googled her before, but, you know, she's got a Google Plus account. She's got reviews there. Obviously, they got all the social networking icons, probably overkill on all that stuff. I don't know, maybe not, but it's a lot to keep up with. And he's not coming in as a social media manager. So to answer your question, Jane, I said you need to bring this up with her, and that you've got to show her the areas where they're not performing. One is the pixel, two is the email marketing, and then circle back and say, you know, I'm looking at this holistically as a strategist for you. You know, I'm not just trained to run Facebook advertising. I'm trained to look at the big digital picture here. How are your customers, your prospects acting on digital? And what can we do better to make sure that we're scaling the business? And right now, if the email systems aren't in place and the, lost my train of thought. So that's how I told him to wrap it up and to get to the decision. And I said, be careful. You don't want to get into a mechanics and like how things are done, so to speak. I said, because you want to know, you know what you're doing. You don't want to give them, like he said, well, should I go in and kind of walk them through what's not working on the pixel? I said, hell no. I said, you don't want to do any of that, because then you've got that ding dong, whoever's responsible for putting the multiple pixels in there, who's probably in that meeting, who's never going to admit that they did this incorrectly, because they're just going to have egg on their face. And then you're going to give them the way in which to fix it. And then in a sense, you just kind of cut yourself out. Like, these are the steps and the lead-ins. Like, if you say to her, you know, I'm more than happy to get this issue resolved for you, you know, once we start working together, and I'll make sure I do that at no cost, you know, something like that. Throw her a bone. It's an hour of your time to get those pixels issues sorted out, or, you know, whatever. Right. So yeah, to go in, I mean, every meeting's going to be a little bit different, but this woman is obviously a good businesswoman. She's got a really reputable practice. I would say that if I got a hold of her Google Analytics, I think she probably has a pretty high bounce rate on her website. And I don't think she's probably getting a ton of contact requests. I mean, if you look at her Facebook page and you look at her photos, I told him, I was like, why not take, hang tight, where is it? Of course, now I'm not going to find it. There was a really nice photograph of, here we go. Like, why wouldn't you use that picture on your website as opposed to this ugly brick building? I mean, ugh. I mean, it's a terrible picture to begin with, but I mean, you can do that, and you can overlay, you know, Turkle and Associates or whatever. You know, it's okay, Clark. Thanks. So, I mean, there's just small things. I said, but be careful, because you're not, again, a social media consultant. You are a digital strategist when it comes to Facebook. And so you can make some suggestions. And I said, you know, tell her that her posting, you know, is too heavily weighted towards sales, and they've got to come up with like a 1-to-4 ratio in terms of, you know, what they're pushing people towards, because I think their audience, you know, just have very low engagement across the board. And I think that people are probably tuned out to this stuff. So the more it's like, buy, you know, like people are like, yeah, whatever. And so I mean, it's hard. This is not a market where people get really, really excited about stuff, you know, Botox, and I don't know, maybe some people do, but it's just not a high engagement base. So I think go ahead, Jen.
I was gonna say, I don't think Facebook allows you to do those before and after pictures either, which is their whole business.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
know?
Yeah, there's limitations, and you know, I think she's a woman like this. You know, generally cosmetic surgeons, I mean, every business is cost conscious, but cosmetic surgeons tend to be very elitist, highly narcissistic. They will spend money, but you've got to wow them to get them to pay attention and make decisions. And so when he wows them tomorrow, I have a feeling by tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to get a phone call. And unless this derails and it's just a train wreck that's out of his control because somebody else leads the conversation, but again, that's his job, is to not let that happen and to ask the questions and to pace them and to bring them through and let other people speak up and ask questions, but don't let them take him off track. Like, he has to have a list of everything that we went over, and he's got to ask it sequentially and then wrap up the conversation, allow them to ask questions, but then ask for the next steps, which is, I'm happy to do this. If you are willing to make the commitment, I'll put the time in and use my resources to meet with the team internally at Facebook so we can look at your competitors and I can come back to you with an informed campaign strategy. But I'm only going to do that if this is something that you'd be prepared to decide on quickly. And then you can say to her, in all honesty, you can say, you know, Facebook is a very competitive space, and there are other people who will claim they can do, you know, advertising for you. And some of them are qualified and some of them aren't. My agency right now is looking out through the first quarter, and I would love to work with you. I think there's a great opportunity because your competitors aren't in this space. However, as a business, I need to make the decisions and I need to make them quickly. So that's why you have to push a little bit, because people like this will shop you around. And the reason you have to do that 24-hour timeline is because they will run around potentially and say, oh, look, but I got this proposal from Seth, and can you beat that or better it, or, you know, can you do it for cheaper? Or, you know, I'm not saying she'll do it, but she could. And if you give a 24-hour decider, it poofs into thin air, then they don't have that, you know, possibility. They could still take it and shop it, but you're not available anymore. You're available for 24 hours. And after that point, then the proposal terms are not available. And you would say to them, you know, if this isn't something you can decide on in 24 hours, the next time I'm going to be able to talk to you about potentially working together, it's going to be the beginning of Q2. And that's the takeaway. I said that you have to be really cautious about how you do that with people. But there's this element of, if you're not an aggressive enough business person, or if this hasn't given you the answers that you're looking for, if he's done a really good job, this woman should want a proposal and she should be willing to make a decision. The other thing I said to him is, if she's not prepared, and be prepared that she won't be prepared, you could have an amazing meeting and she could say, Seth, this is just all new to us and I would love to see your proposal, but can you give me a couple weeks so I can kind of wrap my mind around this? I would like to talk to a few other people, and then you can circle back and we can do a proposal, something like that. That's reasonable, you know, and then he's not wasting his time scrambling and getting stuff together. And then he can go back to her and say, you know, a couple of days before the end of the 2 weeks and say, is this still something you'd like to explore? Do I have your commitment on the 24-hour turnaround? And to be honest, I would probably even walk into the meeting tomorrow with a non-disclosure, because he's talking about getting access to some pretty, and I didn't make that suggestion to him, but I'm going to shoot that to him after this call wraps up, because she's not asking for confidential information, he's volunteering it. And if he's really serious and sticks to his guns, then he's going to make sure that whatever information is passing back and forth is under non-disclosure, you know, even before he gets to a proposal stage. Just shows a different level of professionalism in my mind.
Right.
Does that make sense, Jane? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. Great.
Okay. Scott, how about you?
Sounds good. Looking forward to hear what the outcome of this is.
Me too. Yeah, and basically what I said to him is, I said, I don't think that you're probably, he has some Facebook knowledge for sure, but I said, I think the smarter track here is to, and this is an offer to all of you, is to work directly with one of my guys on his hourly rate, figure out what his recommendations are on the type of campaign strategy, go back to them to get them to sign off on the proposal, and then have my guys run the campaigns, build in, let's say, an hour of time a week or whatever it is, to work with him one-on-one so that he can show you what he's doing and you can learn. And then the client is happy because they're getting results, you're getting paid, he's getting paid, and if you need me, you can book an hour of my time and factor that in and charge the client for it, so you can have me looking at everything at a higher level. And he said, okay, great. And I think that's reasonable, because a client like this, she's probably going to ask, and I didn't bring this up at all, about money. What does this cost? So yeah, this sounds great, but how much is it going to be? And I told him, I said, the simplest answer is the best answer is the simplest answer, or however that saying goes. I said, you're going to tell her the following. There are 3 hard costs in Facebook advertising: the money that you are going to be paying Facebook to get into the auction, the money that you're going to be spending to get your campaign set up, and then the money that you spend on a monthly basis to manage and optimize all of your advertising. And that's going to be different for every person. It's also going to be highly contingent on the campaign strategy, what you're doing, how many campaigns, the ad sets. And anyone that throws a number at you just for the sake of pacifying you in a meeting, in my mind, is very unprofessional. I can't give you a number because I haven't done my due diligence in terms of what's already out in the marketplace. I don't know what's running successfully and what that's costing surgeons in different markets. Once I have that information, I can come back to you and say, here's how much you're going to need to invest, and this is what your monthly recurring cost is going to be, and this is how we would work together. It's really simple. It's a business decision, and you always, you can say cost, but you always want to use the word investment. A surgeon like this makes an investment in her practice and in her business, and so does this guy. He's probably a partner at this point, Strasbourg maybe. No, he's a dermatologist. He's not a partner. So I would say it like that, and because you can't, everyone that's running around saying, oh, I'm going to charge like $1,500 setup fee, and then I don't know, $2,500 a month sounds great. Well, good Lord, do you even know what you're doing for that? And that's the problem with agency, is that nobody who's claiming to throw out these numbers who's been taught by these other morons, not other morons, just morons, period. Your work is your time, and your work, like, you have to calculate out. I mean, the amount of hours that I actually have in on this national campaign with this jewelry company so far exceeds what I'm getting paid. But part of the problem is that I'm so invested in this working that I'm going above and beyond what's necessary, and that's on me. I could sit back and do less work and not have all these pieces, perfected, and they're certainly not perfected, for lack of a better word. But then things are going to fail, and ultimately the client long-term won't see the ROI, and it's going to be because I wasn't willing to work beyond. I saw where the deficiencies were, and I knew that some of this was going to be a challenge, and I said, I still believe we can make this work. But it's more work than I even anticipated. And so I've kind of priced myself out of the project at a certain level. But if we can get past this first month, we waited until December 7th to set the campaigns live, because we wanted things to level out after Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And they did. But now we're up against some issues of not having social proof and not having a fan page with a lot of brand recognition, and so we're trying all these sorts of things. And ultimately, I mean, there could be so many issues. It could be the site that people are, the site has a high bounce rate. So is that a product of them being a new brand, or is it a product of the products not just being well received? Is it the site design? Like, as a digital brand strategist, you have to think so much beyond how do I get a Facebook ad up and running, and how do I manage it? Like, it's a much bigger picture. And that's what I was trying to get Seth to come across. Like, I wanted him to come into the meeting talking at a level which shows her he's thinking about her business in a different way. And I think he did that really well in those initial emails. Where are they? Yeah. I mean, these are solid business questions, and any smart business person should be able to answer some or all of them, you know? And so that just, I think the reason he got the face-to-face meeting was because he asked very strategic questions. And so I said, you've got to carry through and be strategic in the meeting, and then I think you'll do great. So, was there anything else I wanted to cover? Larry, do you have any questions? I know you're muted in the background, but that's a lot about your market. Anything you want to ask?
You know, I'm just soaking it in right now. I don't have anything that I can think of. I'm one of those, I have to think about it first. So if it comes up, I will definitely get a hold of you.
That's fine. One of the other things before I wrap up is that you know, she's got a huge opportunity here. Let's go back to her Real Self page, and let's just hold on the numbers, 45,000 profile views over those 8 years, you know, we'll just average it out at 5,000. So if 5,000 people are looking at her profile, you know, I would say probably 70 to 80% of those are in her geography that didn't just stumble across her and could potentially be patients. So if she is getting a really high conversion rate, she'll know off of her dashboard, you know, she'll have a login in the dashboard here. And I said to Seth, I said, you could even talk to her about using her Real Self positioning in the ads and say, you know, one of Real Self's top doctors in Indiana, you know, whatever. And maybe she's one of like 5 that, you know, are ranked top in Indiana. So one of the top 5 surgeons in Indiana ranked by Real Self or something like that. And people know what Real Self is. It has become a platform where you validate whether a doctor is capable of doing what they're doing or not. And the good, the bad, the ugly. And her reviews across the board are really great. You know, she's, I haven't seen anything that I didn't think was. So on the back end, let's just say Seth had touched on the email marketing. You know, the opportunity for her to develop a relationship with 5,000 people, when you do get a consultation, name, phone number, email. That email can automatically be imported into a CRM. Whatever they're using behind this is probably really outdated. I'm guessing it's tied to some sort of patient record database for cosmetic surgery. It's clunky, it's old. She doesn't know how to do email marketing, so she needs to be on, you know, like an Active Campaign or a MailChimp, and he needs to make those recommendations and say, you know, if you're telling me that your get a consultation button has a conversion rate to patient of, I don't know, let's say 50%. It's a very high number, but let's just say 50%. So every year you have 2,500 patients book with you from Real Self. Well, the 2,500 that haven't booked are still potential patients, and you're doing nothing to try and market to them successfully. And you are losing money, you're hemorrhaging money in a sense. And that's true. Like 2,500 emails, if you drop them into a list and talked about it or sent them offers or, you know, mentioned your holiday sales, something. I mean, I would be really interested. I wonder what he's going to come back with tomorrow, because I said find out what her conversion to consultation is. She'll know those numbers. And I'm pretty sure, I'm going to wrap up here, but I'm pretty sure that Seth is going to knock her socks off tomorrow, and I will get a message. And sorry for the boobs on the page. There's not good-looking boobs either. And you know, he'll probably say she's either ready in 2 weeks or she's ready, and I need you to help me with a proposal. And that would be the best case scenario either way, because this was not a client he went after; it just kind of fell in his lap. So let's all wish Seth good luck.
Wow. That's sure.
Bianca, what about you? Any questions, hun? Thank you for staying up so late.
I and yesterday. As you know, like I'm sort of like the new one to all this, but
yeah.
My question is, I'm really passionate about social media, and I really, really, really want to add some sort of social media element into it. But I remember you saying that it's, you should keep Facebook advertising to Facebook advertising and keep the other side of things to the other side of things. Can you Can you explain more about that? Because I see other people they are doing both of them together. So I'm just, I want to see what your viewpoint is.
Sure. I think that's all dependent. So you're going to have clients that, how do I explain this? So if you go back to some of the beginning of the course where I talk about criteria and figuring out who you are and who you want to work with, yeah. I think it comes more from that perspective, meaning, and there are all sorts of clients and needs out there. And if you don't want to turn down a client because they say, well, Bianca, I would love to do Facebook advertising, but my biggest priority is getting my social media marketing on track, right? And so you go, okay, great. What does that mean to you? Where do you need help? And you already know where they need help, but you need to get them to verbalize that. So if they say, well, we've been doing our own posting and it's really time consuming and I'm just not interested in continuing that and we need to get it more consistent. So basically I need somebody to hand my Facebook account over to that's going to come up with the creative ideas, that's going to post, that's going to manage comments, going to be a social media manager in essence. And then you sit back and say, okay, that may be something that we can put into scope of services. What are you willing to pay to have somebody do that work for you? Yeah. It's a very clear question because you can include that in your scope of services if the time is, if what they're offering meets what you're willing to accept. And so it's just a simple question of that. Like you're never going to please everyone. And so if somebody comes in and says, oh, well, I only want to spend $50 a week on that, get out of here. Like, no, it's not going to work. It takes a lot more. You're posting at least 2 times a day, coming up with original content, creating memes, doing something that takes a little thought. It's worth a lot more than $50 a week. And so you have to say to yourself, okay, if somebody wants me to advise them, there's 2 ways to look at it. Am I advising on social media or am I actively managing social media? If you don't want to do the management at all, you can say, my suggestion here is that I advise you on strategy and I can find the people who can actually do the execution, and that can all be, I work with people who do that. And I do, like I do personally. So you could reach out to me and say, Lex, I need somebody to do that. And you can say to the client, my expertise is on strategy, and my time is best spent with you on giving you the strategies that are going to work, not actually sitting there creating the pieces and doing the manual part of it. That's not the best use of my time. And that's an honest assessment. And I think somebody would respect you for that. Like, you're worth a lot more than $10 an hour to create graphics and manually insert something into a Facebook page, whatever, so I would probably look at it more like that and never say I can't do something for the client, but just really look at, if you take on all these projects and you find yourself spread very thin and you don't enjoy what you're doing and it's monotonous and you thought in the beginning, oh, well, I'd love to do this and help the client, but now it's just turned into drudge work, then you're very quickly not going to want to do it, and that's going to show to the client. So I would just, and you might actually love that. Like, you might be the person that loves to create this stuff and sit down and drop it into Facebook, and I could be completely wrong about that. But generally, most people don't like the posting part, they like the idea part. So, or you could say to them and do a hybrid approach and say, what I can do is put together, a publishing strategy for the next couple weeks. I can get you started by, creating the first week of content, and then I can send that to you, and somebody on your office can post it, and then you can start to learn, how I did it, and I'll teach you how I did it, what tools I used, because ultimately, you know, this, and they might already say, well, we already did that and we know how to do it. We just don't want to do it anymore. So
current insurance
it's all
without living up to your
About that, you guys.
it's all a question of what you think is worth your time and what you're going to enjoy doing, and going after the clients that ideally don't want a lot of management, because that's more like grunty stuff. Like it's not going to generate you. Social media management isn't very lucrative because most people have figured out there are places like Upwork and whatnot where they can just go and hire somebody on the cheap to do that sort of stuff. So unless you're coming in on a strategic advisory level, they're like, well, what do I need you for? You know?
Yeah.
So I would approach it that way, but on a case by case basis. You know, you might want to do more for some people, for others.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else have questions? No. Alrighty. So next week, wait, when is New Year's? Hold on. Let me get my panel here. I'm gonna
Monday.
stop. Oh, good Lord. What kind of shape am I gonna be in on Tuesday? I don't have big New Year's plans, but I always say I don't, and then. So, would you guys be okay if we moved it to Wednesday of next week? Because I think that most people aren't probably gonna love having this on Tuesday. New Year's.
Fine with me.
Laughing at me. Okay, so I'll set the meeting up now, and then what I'll do is I'll send you guys all the registration link so that you have it for next week, and then I'll announce in the group that we've moved it to next Wednesday, same time.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Alexa.
Thank you all for jumping on, and I will catch up with you all in the group.
Hey,
And
Alexa,
happy New Year.
real quick.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, absolutely. Fire.
Hey, I found the lobster video in the Jedi group. Let me ask you a question. I really don't. There's like 17,000 people in that group, so I don't really pay much attention to that group. There's a lot of white noise in it because I'm trying to stay focused just on, you know, our group. Could I ask a favor? If there's something, you know, that you feel that's like, I know you're trying to help the Jedi folks out, and I think that's awesome. But if there's something that really relates to us also in just the mastering the agency course, is there a way that we could share a link or something to something that you did post in the Jedi group that we should go look at?
I'll just upload it directly to the, I put it on my page first, and then I share it into the Jedi group because I'm able to see better analytics that way. But what I'll do is I'll go back to one on my personal page and I'll share it into the student group, and then you can watch it straight from there. In general, in the future, I'll do it.
Okay, I would appreciate that because, like I said, the smaller groups is where I like to just hang out and see if there's anything going on there. But the ones that's, I mean, if I tried to read everything that's coming across that group, I wouldn't get anything done.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. It's sometimes very distracting and not
not too productive.
Okay, will do. I'll put that in now and give you guys the links. Happy New Year, and we'll catch up next Wednesday.
See you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, guys.